welcome to Restore Yoga class. My name is Jenny, and for class tonight, sometimes inspiration for class comes really easy. Sometimes I know weeks in advance or, a few days in advance, oh, I know what I'm going to teach, And other days, other times, inspiration just doesn't come. And I almost feel like I'm failing as a teacher if I, don't know exactly what I'm going to teach. And today was one of those days where I'm just like, what am I going to do? And, I start feeling like I'm an imposter and a failure and all these things. And then I get this little small voice just saying, it's okay. Just be gentle. Be gentle with yourself. And this has also been a theme through this whole pandemic, is the sense of just being gentle. So I just want to bring in a little bit of that energy into class tonight. Take some time to just let yourself be and just be really gentle with yourself. So to help support our practice, our gentle practice tonight, you may want to take some time to gather some props around your house. If you do have yoga blocks, like just one or two, I just have the one, you're welcome to grab those. If not, you can grab a book or even just like a stack of pillows, something like that. Blankets are another good addition, a couple different sizes, maybe a medium and a large one. If you have a meditation cushion or a bolster, this is another nice addition, but you can also use couch cushions, a stack of pillows, a big rolled up blanket, anything like that. So don't feel like you have to have all these fancy yoga props in order to do this restore practice. I'll give lots of different options for using props or for not using props. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. And since we're going to be nice and gentle with ourselves, let's just start in a constructive rest. So we'll be coming down onto the back. And this is different from a shavasana, because we'll have the knees bent and the feet planted on the floor. You're welcome to support the head if you'd like. You could even slide props underneath the knees. You can bring the hands to the thighs. They can kind of rest at the hip creases. You could bring them alongside the body. You could rest them on the belly, whatever feels right for the hands. We're just going to take a moment at the beginning of class to just settle in. Just gently setting ourselves down after a busy Monday, or maybe not so busy Monday. Feeling the ground beneath you, raising up to support you, noticing the areas that are touching the earth. And maybe using that sensation just to start to check in with the body. Starting to notice how you're feeling, where in the body you're feeling it. And bringing in a sense of non-judgment, having no expectations. Really just allowing the body to show up as it is. And finding, that base level of where we are, so that we're not forcing the body to do anything it's not wanting to do tonight, or whenever it is, if you're doing this practice later. Just checking in, observing, gathering information. And extending that compassionate observation to your emotional self. I begin, how are you feeling? And maybe where in the body are you feeling it? If it's been a fairly emotional day and you're wanting to be a little more tender with yourself, maybe bring One hand to the heart and one hand to the belly. As you continue to check in on a physical and emotional level, stay aware of your external environment. There are going to be distractions. That's natural in a home practice. You may hear noises coming from my end, noises coming from your end. Maybe share your home with family or friends, roommates. So again, know that if you get distracted by anything in your external environment or anything in the internal environment, if you get distracted by thoughts or feelings, just bring in that sense of gentleness. And maybe look at it as an opportunity to practice your mindfulness, to recognize when you've spaced out or starting to move away from your present moment, and then just gently bringing yourself back. And one of the best ways for us to connect to the present moment is through the breath. And allowing external influences to simply be a part of the practice. Observing and connecting to the breath. And there are a few different ways that you can connect to the breath throughout our practice. You can, pick and choose as you move along, not feeling like you're locked into any one. One is just through observing the breath, just noticing it in its natural flow, not changing anything, not trying to manipulate the breath. However, if you would like to work with some breath control, then you could start to find some deep belly breaths. Letting the belly soften on the inhale, creating a little more space for the lungs to expand. Letting the belly draw in on the exhale. As you empty out. You could work to balance out the breath, taking equal number of inhale and out and exhale. So maybe taking a few rounds of counting the breath, and whatever the count is, doesn't matter what number it is, but just evening it out, inhale to exhale. You could also work with Ujjayi breath, finding that activation in the muscles in the back of the throat. Same muscles that you use when you're cleaning your glasses or fogging up a mirror, that kind of sound. That's just a tool, audible sound to the breath, something for the mind to tune into. There's some physiological effects as well that kick in the parasympathetic nervous system, helping to bring a little ease and calmness into the body. So you have all those different options to connect to the breath: the observation, deep belly breathing, balanced breathing, and Ujjayi breath. Don't feel like you have to do all of the above, but those tools are there for you to connect, to help bring you back to your breath, bring you back to your body, bring you back to your present moment. Awesome work. And again, as we move through our practice, just be as gentle with yourself as you can. Do your best with what you've got going on today, which maybe that's laying here for the whole hour. knowing that everything that I say is simply a suggestion. I'm here to hold space and to safely guide you through your practice, but it's up to you what you bring to this practice, knowing that what you bring into it is what you'll get out of it. But that you are welcome, that you should give yourself permission to do what feels right, even if it's completely different than what I'm suggesting. Your practice, your body, you know what feels best. As you feel ready, let's just start by drawing the right knee in towards the chest. You can grab onto the outside or top of the knee. You can even interlace the hands. And just start to draw the knee in. And then press it away. I'll just do this a few more times. Drawing that knee in. And then acting like you're lowering the foot, but not all the way. So just a little gentle movement through the right hip, maybe even a little massage in the hip flexor. If bringing in some circles would feel good here, you're welcome to. And you can leave that left knee bent, foot planted on the ground. Or if you want to bring a little more sensation, maybe a little more opening in the hip and stretch in the hip flexor, you could extend that left leg out. Doesn't have to go completely straight. It can, stay at a bend. Whatever feels best for you here. Awesome work. And then when you feel ready, we'll call it a reclined tree. So we'll lower the right foot down, and then we'll open the right knee up to the right. So again, it's your choice whatever that left leg is doing. It could be extended, it could be slightly bent, it could be deeply bent with the foot on the ground. With that right knee dropping open, you're welcome to fill in the space between the ground and the knee if you'd like to bring in a little gentle support. You could also just let the knee hang out. And then with the arms, we'll bring in a little stretching in the sides and then the armpits, maybe a little bit in the chest. So we'll reach the arms up towards the sky. And then we'll cross the forearms, right arm in front, grabbing opposite, either forearms or elbows. And then we'll start to send the forearms overhead, biceps by the ears, so we're kind of framing the head. Now don't worry if the arms aren't coming all the way down to the ground. Mine definitely don't. And again, you're welcome to just kind of hang out here, letting gravity do a little work. You could also, once again, fill in the space between the arms and the ground with blankets, pillows, anything there. And of course, if it doesn't feel good to have the arms clasped, you're welcome to release them and maybe just have the arms kind of hanging out overhead. You could even just bring the arms into goalposts if that feels better. Connecting to your breath and in any way that feels intuitive for you. Just being very gentle in your tree, your reclined tree here. Be
here for about another 10 or so rounds of breath, so about another minute, not too much longer. Knowing that you can come out before that, absolutely. Knowing that you can back off if things start to get too intense, because the longer we hold poses, the more gravity goes to work. And sometimes we'll get a release, an opening, and that can feel really good. It can sometimes take us deeper into the pose, which can be beneficial. But sometimes it could take us too deep. So we want to stay in tune. The body will send different messages if you're starting to go too deep. It'll either send a response to your nervous system, maybe through the breath. If you feel like you can't find a good flow through your breath, if you have to hold it or if it feels forced or stagnant. If you're clenching up in the face or in the jaw, if you're making a owie face, that's a good sign that you're probably going a little too deep. Just a couple more rounds of breath here. Awesome work. And when you feel ready, releasing the arms back alongside the body, we'll start to draw the right knee up. You're welcome to bring the right hand to the knee to help bring a little assist to the hips. And then we're just going to continue to take that right knee over towards the left, finding a twist. So it's your choice what you do with that left leg. It could be extended, it could, you could bend the knee and stack. And as we start to send the right knee over towards the left side, starting to create a twist, that right hip and glute can lift. And again, you don't feel like that right leg has to touch the ground. That's actually a really deep, intense twist that you don't need to go that deep into. So you're welcome to fill in that space again with blankets, with cushions, with any sort of props. And then you can kind of play with the depth of the twist and the intensity that you'd like with the positioning of the right shoulder. It will probably naturally lift up off the ground as we roll onto the left side of the body. And it can lift as much as you'd like, kind of decreasing that twist. You could also invite that right shoulder towards the earth. It doesn't need to touch. You could fill that space in with a prop. You would also extend the right arm out. But know in your twists, in any sort of twist, in any style of class, not just restore, but we don't need to wring ourselves out. Twists don't actually detoxify any organs. There's no scientific backing to that claim. What twists are really designed to do is to keep a healthy mobility in the spine, so that we're able to, twist and look behind us. We're able to use the spine functionally. And our functional range of motion from the spine is only 30 to 35 degrees from midline. That's not very far. So if you were, in this twist and the shoulders on the ground and the knees on the ground, that's 180 degrees. That's way past what you need. So we want to be gentle with our twisting, gentle with the spine. Again, the breath can be a good indication. While you will feel different sensation breathing, especially if you're breathing into the belly when we're all twisted up, you should still be able to find a fluid breath that should still flow. So again, if it feels forced or stagnant or like you have to hold the breath, If you're holding any tension in the body because of the twist, or if it just doesn't feel healthy, welcome to back off. And twisting doesn't just affect the spine. Depending on your body, you could be feeling it in the chest. I'm feeling it in the glutes and outer hip. Even a little bit, I've got really tight hip flexors. I'm even feeling a little bit in my hip flexor. We'll take a few more rounds of breath in our twist on this side. And whenever you feel ready, I'll gently start to untwist, drawing that right knee back over towards neutral, then back onto the back, adjusting as needed. If you want to take any movements, you're welcome to. Then we'll start to set up just that little bit of, it's kind of a series, little mini series on the other side. So from a constructive rest, we'll start to draw that left knee in towards the chest. Again, you can grab the outsides of the leg, you could interlace the hands on top. And we'll just gently draw the knee towards the chest. And then keeping the knee bent, kind of lowering the foot, but hovering it, not all the way. Just drawing the knee in, and then pressing it out. I'm just getting a little gentle movement in that hip socket. My tight hip flexors are getting a little bit of a massage. And then if circling through the knee feels good here, you're welcome to take that. Finding just a little more range of motion through the hip socket. Again, your choice what you're doing with the right leg, if you want to keep it in that constructive rest. If you want to start walking it out, keeping the knee bent, maybe like bent a little bit halfway, or extending it all the way. Finding whatever level of sensation feels good for you on this side. We don't have to do the same exact pose, same exact sensation, make the same exact shape on each side, because the sides aren't exactly the same. We work both sides to bring balance, but we don't want to treat both sides as if they're equals. When you feel ready, we'll set up our little reclined tree. So releasing the left foot to the earth. And your choice, what's happening with that right leg. And then letting the left knee drop open to the left. And you're welcome to fill in the space with the prop. And if you are hypermobile in your hip and that knee just flops right open and you're not getting much sensation here, then you don't need to work on flexibility. Stability is what you'd want to work on. So it will be a little more active, but letting the knee hover maybe just an inch above the ground so that there's a little more activation and you start to build some strength around, some of the working the stabilizers in the hip, so that you're giving the hip joint, that hypermobile joint, some support. Because a lot of hypermobility, we tend to exploit that. We tend to, especially in yoga practices, since it's often, flexibility is glorified in a lot of the poses, and if you're hypermobile, then like I said, you don't need to work on flexibility. You need to work on supporting those joints, bringing in stability. And if you aren't really wanting to, have this too active, and you are that hypermobile person where the leg can just plop open and hit the ground, then bring in a prop so that you're not exploiting that joint. You're not taking it too deep, too far. A good way to be gentle with yourself is remembering that just because you can doesn't mean you should. We'll start to bring in the arms. So extending the arms overhead, crossing the forearms, left forearm in front this time, grabbing either opposite forearms or elbows, and then just starting to let the arms fall overhead. So kind of framing the head with the arms. And again, we don't need the arms to touch the ground. We don't need to force that. I don't even think I could force mine to the ground. So you can, just let them hang out. You could fill in that space. And if this position doesn't feel awesome, don't do it. You could release the arms, maybe just stretching the arms overhead. You could bring the arms into goalposts. And of course, the different positions will bring a different opening in the arms, but just finding what works for you on this side. Finding your breath. Again, just being gentle with yourself when the mind starts to wander. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Our human brain is constantly going. We have some 50,000 thoughts a day or some crazy number, and the majority of them I've heard are negative. And the majority of them are just ridiculousness. Daydreams, things that will never actually happen. Scenarios that we play out in our heads that will never come to fruition, that we'll never experience. And I've noticed this week, my daydreams have been crazy, and I get so sucked into them, creating these scenarios, having conversations and fights and confrontations that are all in my head. And it's so funny just to witness that and to think of the ridiculousness of it all. And then when we realize that to the brain, to our minds, it's like we're living that. They've done neurological studies that thoughts and what actually happens in real, in this reality, our brain responds the exact same way as if what we are thinking is truly happening. Same with dreams. That's why dreams can be so vivid. In dreams, we can wake up, having gotten in a fight with someone in a dream and really be mad at them. It's because in our minds, it's all real. When you start to really think about that, you realize the power of your thoughts and the importance of really picking and choosing what you choose to invest your energy into, which thoughts you choose to invest in and to let play out. So we can spend a lot of wasted energy on the ridiculous things that pop into our head. Of course, when that happens, be gentle. Maybe even laugh at the ridiculousness. And stay mindful of where you invest your energy, where you let your mind go. A few more rounds of breath here. Whenever you feel ready, starting to release the arms. We'll start to draw that left knee up. Again, you can use the left hand for support if you'd like. And then we'll start to set up our twist on the other side. So letting the left knee drop over towards the right. Again, your choice, what goes on with the right knee. Left hip, left booty will lift. Left shoulder will lift. And you're welcome to fill in the space between the leg and the ground. You're welcome to play with the positioning of that left shoulder, letting it lift as you come more onto the right side body for a nice gentle twist. You could find a little more opening in the chest, a little more sensation in the twist by inviting that left shoulder towards the ground, knowing that it doesn't need to, nor should it touch. If it does feel better to have that left shoulder touching, then just making sure that we're not forcing that left knee to the ground. So if you want that left shoulder to touch, you can just let that left knee hover or fill in that space. Finding the breath. Observing the thoughts. And without judgment, working to cultivate some gentleness, some self-compassion. Breathing, connecting. Take 5 to 7 more rounds of breath here. And again, noticing where you're feeling sensation. Probably won't just be in the spine. Maybe even observing any differences you feel on each side. Again, no judgment. Not to compare each side for any other reason than curiosity. To get to know the asymmetries, the imbalances in our body today. Sometimes, it's the way we're built. So those asymmetries are, what we carry with us. Sometimes it's circumstantial, from physical activity, from a current injury. So working to honor each side and getting to know the body so that we know, which of these asymmetries or imbalances can we work with to improve, and which ones do we need to learn to accept and learn to work with. you feel ready. Whenever you feel complete, no rush. And slowly start to untwist. Realigning through the spine. And let's just stretch out through the legs, stretch the arms overhead. Just take a nice big good morning stretch. Lengthening everything out. Maybe letting a sigh out of the mouth. Rolling out through the ankles and wrists, wiggling through the fingers, through the toes. And we'll gently just roll onto one side of the body and press ourselves up. We're gonna set up our legs similar to our constructive rest. So knees bent, taking the feet a little wider than hip distance. Actually, I'm gonna go this way. And then bring the hands back behind you for some support, or if you're near a wall, you're welcome to lean up against a wall. We're gonna windshield wiper through the knees, but we're also going to kind of work to find maybe a little bit of a booty massage. So we're gonna drop the knees over towards the right, up through center, over towards the left. Taking it nice and slow. Getting a little pressure on the glutes. Awesome work. So we're going to kind of play again with a little tree shape. So we're going to extend the left leg out. It doesn't need to come straight. You can even use a prop to slide underneath the knee. You could use a blanket if you'd like. And then we'll have the right knee bent, and we'll open that right knee out to the side. So similar shape, what that we did lying on the back. We're just going to be forward folding this time. So the foot can be anywhere along the inside of that left leg. It doesn't need to be all the way up by the root. It could be, you could make kind of more like a half diamond shape. And then again, you can bring in a prop or something to fill in that space. It also might be nice, should have said this before we got the legs set up, to bring in a little bit of lift in the booty. So maybe sitting on a pillow or a stack of pillows. Doesn't have to be super high, but that also just depends on the flexibility in your hips, in your hamstrings, and in your low back. Since we are folding forward, we do need to be able to get to that fulcrum point where we can fold forward through the hips. And if we're tight in the low back, like I am, then you need this little lift to help tilt the pelvis forward. Because for some of us, me included, sitting up straight, you kind of have to lean back a little bit. And if we're not quite to that hinge point, our forward fold is just going to come all in the spine. We're going to kind of slump over. So this lift in the booty helps to just create a little more space, kind of give us a little assist with our flexibility so that we can get to that fulcrum point to where we can fold forward and that folding is coming in through the hips so it's not just rounding out. So then we're thinking of lengthening up and over in our forward fold. And we don't need to go far. You can also, your choice if you want to lead with the heart, keeping the spine nice and straight. Or if you want to release through the neck and shoulders, you could bow the head down. You could also bring in a configuration of props. If you have 2 blocks, or you can use hands to find a way to rest the head. You can also, you can get creative. Bringing in stack of whatever to release the head. And these are all just options. You can do this without any props. I like props. They just offer a nice support for the body and just another way to be gentle with yourself. So know that we don't need to go far. We don't even need to go to 100% of our flexibility. So don't feel like you need to grab the foot and crank yourself down. We definitely don't need to fold in half. There's no need for that. Finding your breath. Noticing if you're holding any tension in the neck or shoulders. Any tension in the jaw and the face. Any tension in the hips, the low back. Just release any tension here. Letting, if you're using props, letting the props support you. Again, we're not forcing ourselves because gravity is already forcing us into this forward fold. So we don't need to do anything more than kind of let gravity do its job. And unless it does too good of a job and it takes you too deep, then you need to back off. You need to allow yourself a little gentleness, a little bit of self-love. A few more rounds of breath on this side. Awesome work. Nice and slow, whenever you're ready. We'll slowly start to make our way out of this forward fold. And we'll take a counter stretch. So you're welcome to bring the hands back behind you. Just finding a little length, maybe opening up through the chest. If you want to take it a little further, a little more active, you could plant the right hand. Reach the left arm up and overhead as you lift the hips up, lengthening through the leg. And this is a little more active. You can take it with the hips lowered down, reaching back. Take it for as long as feels good and then release it back down. And then whenever you're ready, we'll switch it over to the other side. Drawing that right knee up, extending the right knee out along the ground. Just again, doesn't have to come completely straight. We don't need to lock out in the knee. You can even use some props, little pillow or blanket underneath that right knee for some support. Bending in that left knee and then letting the left knee drop open. And you're welcome to fill in that space with a prop.
You can find whatever position for that left foot, creating any sort of shape with that knee. So it can be a deep bend, it can be more of like a half diamond. And we got that booty lifted so we can get to that fulcrum point to be able to fold forward. And then we want to think about lengthening up and then coming over. So kind of like your, I don't know, weird situation, but if there's like a pool you want to look into, but there's a fence first, you got to look up and over. I don't know, that's a weird analogy, but you know, hopefully it did the job. So we want to lift up and fold forward. And your choice, if you want a nice extended spine, just leading with the heart. Or if you'd like to round out, tucking the chin in towards the chest. You could also use a configuration of props to release the head down. Once again, we don't need to go far. We don't even need to go to 100% flexibility. We are going to be holding the pose, so no, we'll get in there. Just want to start nice and gentle and work from there. So just when you start to feel any resistance, noticing where you feel the resistance, if it's coming in the hamstrings, in the low back, in the hips, perhaps somewhere else. Every body is different. So the sensations that we feel in each pose are going to be different. That's why it's one of my goals as a teacher to encourage your own personal exploration within your practice so that you can develop autonomy. So that in any class that you attend, that maybe don't give as many options, you know what works for your body. You've put in that work to explore, and you've given yourself permission to do what feels right, regardless of what the teacher is saying. And if a teacher ever makes you feel like you can't explore other options, or makes you feel like honoring your body is doing it wrong, or even gets offended, it may not be your teacher. It may not be the right teacher for you. Every body is different, every practice is different, and no one knows your body better than you. No one knows how your practice feels except for you. So never feel like you have to go against what your body is telling you. We are working to build a respectful relationship with the body. Working towards love, but this society does not really cultivate self-love, especially for our bodies. We're always told that we need to look a certain way, and if we don't, it's wrong. We're force-fed, no pun intended, diet culture. These ridiculous body images that aren't natural and shouldn't be forced upon us. So we have to develop that relationship ourselves, going against everything that we were raised to believe from society, from marketing, from big corporations just wanting to sell us more products. So when we honor our body, when we listen to our body, despite what any external source is telling us, that's how we build that respectful relationship. And just like any relationship, the more we put in, the more we get out. Okay, rant over. When you feel ready, we'll slowly
slowly start to make our way out of our forward fold. Then we'll take that counter stretch. So bringing the left hand behind you, reaching that right arm up, and we can just extend, or if lifting through the hips would feel good, planting that left knee, lifting up. Oh, yeah, that's not necessary. Whatever works best for you. Taking that as long as you'd like, and then releasing down. And it is time for us to start our transition into Shavasana, or our final relaxation pose. Time flies when you're having fun. We do have enough time that if you want to explore any final movements, if there's anything that the body is craving, anything that we didn't get to, anything that you want to revisit, just again building that relationship with the body, tuning in, feeling this would feel really good. Take that. Take as much time as you'd like to explore, to wrap up your practice. And then when you're ready, finding a position that you feel like you could surrender to. So a traditional corpse pose, lying flat on the back, palms turned up, toes turned out. That's definitely an option. But if that's not feeling awesome for you, don't do it. You could come back to constructive rest, planting the feet on the ground. You could just slip some props underneath the knees for support, a little bit of release for the low back. You're welcome to use props in any other way. But if lying on your back doesn't feel awesome tonight or right now, you can lie on your side, you can lie on your belly. You could even join me in a seated meditation, maybe leaning against the wall. You could even sit in a chair. Whatever position you'd like to get yourself into for this, of the final little bit of class. And listen to your body. Get out of the idea of, what you think how a yoga practice should end, what you think your Shavasana should look like, and just do what feels good. Being gentle with yourself, not forcing anything. So taking your time to get yourself set up. And then once you get into your final pose, really just let yourself let go. Releasing the body, feeling the support of the earth, the support of props, feeling the weight of gravity, feeling it all just holding you, supporting you in this space. A little gentle reminder from Source, Universe, God, nature, whatever you want to call it, that it is here for you. It is supporting you. Releasing any control over the breath you may have been working with, just letting it find its flow, nice and gently. Just inhaling and exhaling as the body sees fit. And trying to allow the mind to settle, which can be one of the most challenging aspects of our practice. Just allowing this little bit of time at the end of class, we'll be here for about a minute or two in silence. This opportunity to just be. I heard a quote that just kind of stuck with me a few weeks ago that said, "We are not human doings. We are human beings." And so rarely are we given an opportunity, or do we give ourselves an opportunity to just be,
take that now, even if just for these last final moments. Let yourself just be. If you do have more time to dedicate to this opportunity to just be, please take as much time as you'd like. Feel free to turn off this video and do your thing. Give yourself as much time as you can carve out. If and when you're ready, slowly start to bring a little movement back into the body. Staying nice and gentle with yourself. As you feel ready, slowly making your way to a comfortable seat. Wherever you are, I'll invite you to bring the hands to heart center or any other meaningful gesture with the hands. Taking a moment to offer yourself a little bit of gratitude for carving out this time, for stepping on your mat, and giving yourself this opportunity to just be a little gentle. A little bit of self-love. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy, and your practice with me, for allowing me into your homes to share the magic of yoga with you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I see you, I honor you, and I bow to you. Namaste.